You're listening to Welcome to Eloma, a podcast for highly ambitious dreamers who get shit done. I'm your host, Kylie Peters. This is a space where we talk about financial strategy for small business owners. So I love understanding the money side of business. That has not always been true for me, but in recent years, I've just become obsessed with it. And for many entrepreneurs, I know it's a pretty scary and intimidating topic, but it's such a huge opportunity for all people, all owners especially. And it's a big opportunity for people like today's guest, Ali Nasser, to help educate and make it a bit more accessible. So when I work with my clients and other fellow business owners, I always stress the importance of understanding numbers and understanding finances and making a plan. And I'm working on becoming more educated about that myself. But I'm really excited to jump into this conversation with Ali. We met earlier this year at the Exit Planning Summit in May of 2022. I'm thrilled to have him as a guest. We were both very busy, so it took us months to schedule this. But I'm thrilled to be having you on the show, Ali. Ali is a #1 Amazon bestselling author, a serial entrepreneur, a wealth and life strategist, and he's really focused on supporting business owners in living their best life. We have a lot of things in common in that way. Welcome to Eloma, Ali.
Thank you so much, Kylie. It's such a pleasure. I knew when I met you, there would be a deeper relationship and connection, and I'm really excited to be able to have this conversation with you and all your guests.
Same. Yes. Thank you so much for being on the show. Okay. We're just going to get into it. So tell me a little bit about what led you to focus on supporting small business owners with financial strategies.
Sure. So I got into the financial industry completely by accident 20 years ago while finishing university. It was just an accident. I think many entrepreneurs fall into their businesses by accident, and they kind of just start out not necessarily knowing that was the plan, and that turned. And I loved the helping people side of the business. I really did not like the conflicts of interest, the sales, the kind of the slimy side of the business that seemed to be everywhere in the financial industry. And I almost left the industry. And this is back almost 20 years ago. I was like, it's just not the right industry for me. I enjoy the helping people part, but the rest just doesn't work. And then the entrepreneur kicked in me and said, well, why not just build what you wish existed?
Ooh, I love that.
And that was the birth. And it turned into more consultative, fee-based planning, strategy, and guidance. And it became less about products and services and more about guidance and advice. And the natural affinity I had being an entrepreneur myself is I found that over the years, all my closest clients, all my best clients were entrepreneurs also, because we naturally had this chemistry and connection. I didn't realize what it was starting out. I was in my 20s just kind of figuring it out. And then about 12 years ago, I was looking at the business and looking at the work that we did, and I said, we really need to fully focus in a niche, and let's double down. And where can I create the greatest amount of impact value? And it was with entrepreneurs. So we made a strategic decision as a business then to say we're only working with business owners and entrepreneurs, and we kind of, to my understanding, we're kind of the first firm at the time that said, this is who we are and who we serve and what we do, and that's it. And and since we made that decision, it's been just an incredible journey of going, an inch wide and a mile deep, and helping entrepreneurs with their unique situation, unique balance sheets, unique mindset, and it's been an amazing journey.
And what was the draw that brought you to that niche specifically? Like, obviously, it came from a personal place, but like, what really brought you there?
Purpose.
Just mic drop. That's it. Purpose.
Purpose. When I first started the firm, the tagline for the firm was wealth with purpose.
Okay.
And when you spend time with entrepreneurs, you realize how purpose-driven their whole life is. And whether they realize it or not, I mean, it's that purpose is driving everything, and intentionality is one of the most important things in the world to me. So purpose was the driver, and working with people that had a sense of purpose about what they were doing, who they were, what they were creating, and kind of had I'm almost going to use the word obsession with creating a certain outcome.
Fair.
You know, because I think people are passionate, and a lot of entrepreneurs go right over that line to obsession.
Over that line, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
So
Guilty.
it's like a magnet. Yeah, there you go. It's
Yeah.
a magnet. When you feel that passion and that obsession from people, I'm drawn to supporting them. It's like, how
Yep.
can I help you get the outcomes that you're looking for? And then the empathy I have with owners being one is I know how unbelievably hard it is to
Hmm.
build a company, how many things have to go right in order for there to be success or profit or a culture or an environment that's really
Yeah.
healthy and quality for the people you serve, the people you work with, your team, yourself. And that journey is hard. So
And
if I
it's a
can make it,
journey. Yeah, it
ah,
keeps going,
right.
hopefully.
you hope, but if not, you're going to get back on the saddle
Yeah.
and figure something out. That's who you are.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, yes, and to all of that. I mean,
Mhm.
as we know, and listeners here are mostly, we got a lot of entrepreneurs, owners, visionaries, etc. There's a lot of moving pieces, but as we drill into the money piece of things, we know that if you don't know your numbers, it's hard to really run a profitable business that can have a successful culture and all those things because there's so many stressors that come along with not being clear on where money is. So, as you are working with small business owners, what would you say are maybe like the top 3 things they need to know when it comes to building a comprehensive financial strategy?
Great question. Top three. This is going to be some critical thinking here.
No pressure.
No pressure. So the first one is you need to know your end goal for the company.
Mm,
And most business owners were really good at getting things started. We usually have some team members and support to help get things finished. So here, let's go do
yep.
this. Let's get started. Well, when you say let's get started, when you start your company, you're kind of like it's like having a kid. You
Mhm.
have the kid. You don't know how much work goes into it until you realize, whoa, how did I like these hours don't fit? Like how do you get this all done?
Yep.
So what's your end goal for the business? And there's kind of three paths that you can because your every business owner's goal, right, is you want to have the purpose that you created the business for succeed, right?
Mhm.
And then you want to be able to have enough success from the company that you have, financial freedom, you have life freedom, that it gives you the freedom that you're looking for from starting the
Mhm.
company. So the purpose we've talked a little bit about, but the other outcome you want is how am I going to create personal value from this business that I've built?
Mm,
And it's either going to be one day the end goal for the company might be, I'm going to sell the business one day. So that's sale. It might
mhm.
be, well, I'm going to have succession. I'm going to pass this to my son or daughter and success this company on. And it may be savings. Like I'm going to use the profits that come from this company and say, I'm going to build up a personal wealth separate from the company to where I
Mhm.
have financial independence. And whether the company thrives or doesn't make it past me or whatever it is, I've got financial independence.
Mhm.
Most business owners I meet don't think about their end goal for the company.
Yeah.
So that's a big element that's missing. The second one I'd say is they don't create a plan to capture their life's work. They're always build, build, build. But
Mm.
what's your capture strategy? How are you actually taking the business success that you've built and turning it into a capture strategy and developing the personal plans that can support that business success? So,
Okay, now tell me more about what that means.
okay. So, um, so I'll share with you a little bit of a story. So I had a business owner who was building up their wealth, and their company had been very, very successful, had built a multi-million-dollar net worth. And when it came to planning their net worth, like actually, how do I make sure I'm minimizing tax and there can be succession for my children and I can have an investment strategy that is sustainable, or if something happened to me, my spouse is going to be okay
Mhm.
and is going to have the cash flow that they need. And my kids aren't going to fight over the company stock because there was a clear succession plan, not a document in a drawer after I
Mhm.
died. So all those things, this particular business owner was putting all of them off,
Yep.
pushing them all aside, saying, Ali, sorry, can't have a meeting. Attorney, sorry, can't do that. I've got to go build. I've got to go build more. I've got to go build more. So this is
Mhm.
the type of business owner that for him, if he had a meeting scheduled with his professional team, tax, legal, financial, but he had a new prospect that showed up or a new business opportunity that showed
Mm.
up the week prior, he would cancel all of that because I got
Oh
to go
boy.
hunt. So his subconscious brain was so focused on, I've got to keep building, 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 building.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it on the flip side going, do you realize by not doing this, you could be making a 10 million or a $20 million loss or mistake, and you're
Yeah.
chasing a $200,000 opportunity. And it's
Yeah.
one of those moments what I said to him, and this hit home, is there reaches a point where planning what you have is more impactful than just growing it.
Yeah.
And
That's a
and it
great point. Yeah.
so it's there's a purpose in business. You certainly in the early years you've got to hustle, you've got to drive. His
Yeah, for
subconscious
sure.
habits got to grow. You know, your first few years in business, like 70 to 80% of your time should be in growing the business. You know, and you got to that's what's needed. If you spend 80% of your time in operations or planning, you're not going to succeed. You're probably
There's
never
not
get
going to
off the
be any
ground.
money there.
Exactly. So that's the second kind
Hmm.
of gap, and or second most important thing. And the third, I'm going to pull a quote from Dan Sullivan here,
Hmm.
of who, not how. Get the
Oh,
right resources.
I love Dan Sullivan. That
Yeah.
book changed my life.
Oh, it's awesome. It's actually sitting on the shelf there.
Yep.
I've been working with Dan personally for 13, 14 years now.
He's
Um,
incredible.
yeah, incredible. But just the simplicity of the idea of who, not how, is
Yep.
so impactful because this is incredibly overwhelming. And if you think
Yes.
about your customer, whatever business you're in, your customer, if they tried to build what you provide as a solution, it's going to be a really hard journey to do what is that you do for them. And when
Hmm.
you think about how do I bring together like my tax strategy, my wealth strategy, my business exit, my asset protection, my cash flow planning, aligning with my spouse, figuring out how to capture all my success, it's going to be overwhelming mentally. But if
Yes.
you can say, who can do that for me? Who can help me with that? Who's the
Hmm.
guide? Who's the right team? And it's not usually one person. There's a team that needs to be there.
Yeah.
That building that team and that resource network is going to pay back so much more than you ever put into it. So finding the right resources to help support you in your vision. Those are
Yeah.
my three.
No, I love that. I love that. And again, who not how has totally changed things for me too. But I also love the statement, you have to spend money to make money. And I feel like that's
Mm,
really applicable when it comes to the who not how. Like just to your point, like don't be afraid to make the investment in somebody who can be an expert in the thing so that you don't have to try to figure out how to be an expert in the thing and you just focus, excuse me, you just focus on, your highest and best use of time because
yeah,
otherwise you're just spinning your wheels. I love that.
absolutely. Opportunity cost.
For
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely opportunity cost. Okay, so you may have already covered it, but I want to give you the opportunity to add if you need to. So, you already mentioned a couple of mistakes that owners make
Yeah.
when talking about money and financial strategy. Anything else that you want to toss out there as like red flags for anyone listening?
Ooh, for potential
So,
mistakes.
yeah, like don't do this.
There's so many. Uh,
The
I mean
rest of
that.
the episode is just ways that people screw up.
You know, I think we've covered the big ones. You had the top three there. If there was another one, I would put in there, especially with your entrepreneur audiences. Don't underestimate the importance of you.
Ooh,
You're the central part of your company. You're the central part of usually the cash flow and the income for your family. You're an integral part of your IP and your vision. And a lot of business owners kind of like, oh, well, you know, things will be fine if I'm not around. And, you know, the company will figure it out. You know, the family will be okay. You not being there is so impactful when you're an entrepreneur because you're connected to
yeah,
everything. So just don't underestimate the importance of you and taking the time to plan for you. And in some ways, even being like, I need to selfishly plan for how I'm going to capture the fruits of my labor
yeah,
because growing is really important, but capturing is also important. And don't discount that.
yeah.
So,
I love that. Yeah, I work a lot with women entrepreneurs, and we've all read the stats and all the things. So often, women tend to put everyone else first and forget to take care of themselves. So, for any ladies listening, this is a public service announcement. Don't forget to put yourself first because there's also a lot of research that shows that when we do that, and when I say we, I mean all humans, when we do take the time to put ourselves first, everybody else around us tends to reap those rewards as well. When we take the time to reset, when we take the time to take care of ourselves, when we take the time to reduce some of those stressors, it pays off in dividends to all those who surround us. So
Yeah,
I love that.
Kylie is speaking the truth here, and the analogy that I always love on this topic is, put your mask on first, before you
Yes.
put
Yeah.
and
Airplane. Yeah.
and yeah, airplane analogy, right? And so many, and I'll speak to the women topic you just mentioned, but so many women are so selfless and giving towards others. But if you're not good emotionally,
Hmm.
mentally, financially, spiritually, if you're not in a good place, you're not able to serve those around you. So, in many ways, being a bit selfish can allow you to be more selfless.
Yep.
So, don't forget about you.
I love that. Uh, oh my God, there's so many things that I want to talk to you about. Let's jump into this next thing. You have written a book, The Business Owner's Dilemma, where you talk about how owners can integrate business, wealth, and life decisions, which we've kind of already talked about a little bit here.
Mhm.
Because I love that we are both trying to help owners like build and live their best lives, right?
Sure.
So give us a little sneak peek into the book in terms of how you find this to be possible for owners.
Cool. So, I'm going to start with why I wrote the book. Because I think you
And I,
begin.
I just want to call like I'm glad you love your book. I would be really sad for you if you were like, well, I didn't really like the book that I wrote, but I'm going to talk about it anyway.
Thank you for saying that. There's a lot of authors I meet, and they're like, "Oh, Lee, once you write your book, you're going to look at it a month after, and you're going to be like, oh, I hate this part," and you're going to.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say it's been 6 months, 7 months since the launch. I love the book, and I feel great about it. And every
Good.
that I get from someone that reads it and goes, "This was life changing," or "This made a huge impact," it's still like gives me joy every day.
I love it.
So the why behind it is about 7 to 10 years ago. Actually, it's a little more than that now, closer to 10 years ago. I had a group of business owners that had reached the summit, right? The summit of success. They had sold their companies for 20 million, 100 million, even $500 million. Just these
Wow.
big, like the type of dream someone has where my purpose was actualized. I reached the summit. I had this big exit, and I got compensated, really well for the work, and it was just a great journey ending. And what I noticed with these owners is that many of them were struggling. In fact, most of them were struggling after this exit event. They
Hmm.
were struggling with their identity. They were
Yeah.
struggling with the financial and life dilemmas they were facing with their success. They were struggling with what's next on their
Yep.
journey. And when I saw this, it made me hyper aware that wealth is a means and not an end. And if you
Mm.
think that wealth is your end, because many business owners, it's like, oh, I'm building this business to get to this end, this money, I need to get this independence, I want financial freedom. I can tell you that having, whether it's 20 million or 500 million of financial freedom, which either one gives you a
Whatever you want.
successful life, whatever you want,
Yeah.
um, it will not fill your cup if you think that wealth is the end. Wealth is a means. It certainly makes some problems go away, but don't think because you
Mhm.
have a ton of wealth that your problems go away. Um, so the analogy that came to me as I was going through this journey with them is that, reaching that summit, it's kind of like climbing a mountain. And if I ask you, Kylie, what's the goal of climbing a mountain?
I want to climb the mountain. I would say I did it.
Yeah, you did it, but specifically, most would say to get to the top. Right?
Yeah.
What's the goal? Get to that. Of course, definitely want to enjoy the journey and all that. But many will say, well, goal climbing a mountain is to get to the top. Now, while this may sound obvious, the real goal is to get to the top and to get back down
Back
safely,
down.
right?
Oh yeah. No, that yep, okay, well
Right?
played. I'm
And
just gonna
it's
stay up there. I'm gonna hang out, build a little lodge. It'll be good.
yeah, yeah. The air's
Get back
thin. I'll
down.
be
Yeah.
fine. Altitude sickness won't be a problem. So while that sounds silly, the
It's really
interesting
smart.
statistic is that 80% of the accidents that happen when mountain climbing, they don't happen on the way up. They happen on the way down.
Oh man.
And seeing this, it directly correlated to me to business success. I meet so many business owners that hit success, whether it's an exit or they now have the cash flows they've dreamt of, or they hit the mark where the business is really successful.
Hmm.
And they haven't charted a path forward for the descent. They haven't figured out
Yeah.
how to capture their success. And in many cases, it leads to unfulfillment, a loss of purpose, a lack of identity,
Yeah.
and seeing what these owners went through. And a lot of them had some mental health challenges going
Sure.
through this, right? Relationships damaged.
Oh, I believe that.
I was terrified for my own mental health. I was terrified for my own relationships. I was like, wait a second, that client that's going that I kind of looked at him like, I feel like I'm very much like you. I want to emulate you. And then I'm
Hmm.
watching this crisis happen, terrified for myself, terrified for other clients, and said, how can we help create a better outcome?
Yeah.
And through that process, through the work that we did and the things that I've been doing the last 2 decades, the system, which the book introduces, the wealth integration system for entrepreneurs. If you're familiar with EOS, it's kind
Yep.
of like EOS, but for a business owner's personal wealth. How do you bring those pieces together, reshape the paradigms, create a plan, not just for growth, but create a plan for capture as well, and basically help create the path to come down the mountain as well as go up? And that was the big why behind writing the book. And I wanted to democratize the framework. The boutique that I run works with, high net worth business owners and people with a lot of means and success. I'm like, this needs to be for every business owner. And I want the education and the freedom and the framework to have any business owner at any level have this democratized for them, where they can get access to the thinking system, the tools, the ideas. So all of the dilemmas, the 6 components, it's all brought in together inside the book for every owner that has poured their heart and soul into building their company and wants a path forward.
I love it. Okay, so I have to ask though, we talk about walking
Anything.
the walk and talking the talk. Ooh, careful what you wish for.
Uh-uh.
Um, how have you integrated this successfully for yourself?
You asked the loaded questions. So I'll be as honest and I always am, but I'll be as honest and blunt as I can. There are parts of my planning that it's like the cobbler's kid has no shoes,
Yep.
where it's like there's absolutely pieces where I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm okay, I can do that later. And then there's parts of my planning that have incredible levels of intentionality, and I've worked and executed towards that and started to actualize on that outcome. So it definitely is there's two sides to the coin.
In progress.
It's in progress.
It's a work in progress. Okay.
Definitely a work in progress, but it is absolutely in motion, and we've made many milestones in that journey. And candidly, writing this book and then creating the education and workshop company or education and content company that I created with Wise is all part of that greater purpose and actualizing on where I feel I can make the biggest impact in the world. Because there's planning and strategizing, and then there's education and resetting paradigms and mindset coaching and all those aspects. And having a platform to be able to impact the business owner community that way is definitely actualizing on that goal. Does
Yeah.
that kind of answer your question?
No, that's there's no right or wrong.
All right, cool.
That's awesome. I love that. What is, if you had like one or two tips for anybody listening right now, maybe they haven't had a chance to read your book yet. If you haven't, definitely check it out. But if they haven't had a chance to read your book, what's one big takeaway that is in the book that you want entrepreneurs to know right now?
So one big tip. So there's 3 dilemmas in the book.
Well, don't give it all away.
I won't give it all away.
Don't give it all away. Just
All
one.
right, fine. I would say the first thing they need to know is, and we talked about it earlier, but what is your end goal for the company?
Yeah.
And what actions can you take right now to help get you closer to that end goal? And if you haven't identified the end goal, that first step is to say, hey, here's my end goal. I want to build this company to generate cash flow from me, or I want to sell it in 10 years, and start communicating that goal. You can always change it. Goals can change. So don't feel like I have to commit to this forever, because things can change. But identifying the goal allows you to set course in a certain direction. If there's no clear end goal, for what you want from the company and how you're going to get that to transfer to personal success, you're like, it's like navigating to no destination. You're just driving, you're just going.
Yeah.
So start with Stephen Covey, right? Begin with the end in mind. And what is the end goal for the company? And what's one action that I can take right now to help get me closer to that end goal?
Yeah. And I will say too, like when I started Brainchild, somebody asked me this question and I was like, what? Like to your point, I believe most owners become accidental owners. Like we just start a
Yeah.
thing, right? And I remember having this conversation with somebody and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to build this company to be, multi millions. I'm going to sell it for like $200 million." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that." But I also don't know if I have like a real answer to that question. And
Mm,
so that's been something that I've really thought about. And, I've heard this multiple times, like have the end in mind, start with the end in mind. But for anybody listening, know that this is very real advice. And sometimes I think that can be kind of daunting. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how to not fail in the first year, right? It's like, that's okay. But think about, why are you starting this? Like, what is the why and what are you hoping that it turns into? And like just be honest with yourself. I think that's something that I've found is like sometimes I think people are afraid to say what they want it to be.
yes. It
Like just
definitely.
own it. It's okay. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah. We're afraid of judgment. We're afraid
Mhm.
of making a mistake. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid that, what if we change our minds? We're afraid to commit.
Yes.
All those things. Fear can be your best buddy in a not so good way.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. So just own it. And I love how you said like goals can change. We are human. It's weird if we don't change. So own it where you are right now and just be honest with yourself throughout your journey.
yeah.
Um, I have gotten in this habit of asking my guests like a slightly embarrassing question about themselves, and it turns out to be like my favorite part of every episode. So, Ali, you're not going to get out of this one.
All right.
Um, we're talking about money and finances in this episode. So, I'm going to ask you, what is your most embarrassing moment when it comes to money management?
Personally, my most embarrassing moment.
Yes.
Um,
Like, damn, I shouldn't be telling people this, but this is my truth.
can I tell you two?
Yes,
I'm gonna tell you
please.
two because the two come to
Please.
mind. I don't know which one to share, so I'll just share them both. So the first was when I was in college, my first year of university. I got a credit card. It came in the mail, and I didn't exactly know how. I thought a credit card. My parents were like very much anti-debt people.
Okay.
So when I got a credit card, I it was like a $500 credit limit, and I used the credit card, and I think I overspent. Like it went to like 550 or something like that. And my thought was, is you pay it off in full. So I called the credit card company and they said, well, your minimum payment's only whatever it was, like $70 that you need to pay. And I was like, minimum payment? What does minimum payment mean? I don't understand. Like you're saying I don't have to pay the whole amount of money? And they're like, do you know what a credit card is? I was like, I thought I did. I thought I charge money and then I pay it all off at the end of the month. You're telling me there's only this minimum payment? And that was my first. I'm like, that's how financially like unknowledgeable I was when it came just to a credit card. So that's my first story. The second one is when I started in the business, and this was later in college. Funny, they went from a $500 credit limit. I got a $30,000 credit card loan to hire my first employee.
Okay, so you did something right in those couple
Yeah,
of years there. They were
I
like,
mean,
"Oh, let's give him some more money."
they did, or they just want to take advantage of you. I don't know what it is, but I started in the business. I was like, I got this credit card offer. It was like $30,000, 0%, and I was like, this is going to be my line of credit to
Oh
go
God,
hire my first
you're
employee.
like making me itchy over here.
So yeah, I was a full-time college student and 21 years old, and had a $30,000 credit card line of credit to start my first team member, and that was how the journey began.
And that worked out for you.
And it worked out great. I
Okay, the
was being
thirty
judged
thousand
by
dollar.
everybody. My quote unquote, like, it wasn't a eat what you kill type of business, but
Yeah.
I had a lot of judgment. Like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Do you know what you're doing? And I was like, no, I got this. Like, there's a plan here. Like the worst case scenario, something doesn't work out. It doesn't have to be a whole year's salary. You can figure out in a month or two if
Yep.
someone's going to work out or not. And I kind of mitigated the things, and I was like, hey, it's cheap, free money, and I can't get that anywhere else. And now's the time. It's now or never. So
Interesting.
I would
Okay.
never tell anybody to do that, but
Yeah.
I'm
I was
embarrassed
like, oh my
to
God, please don't tell me that this wound up in you like losing a limb or something.
No, it all worked out, but it probably wasn't the smartest, most prudent money management decision I could have made.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah.
but it wasn't terrible. You didn't end up like in insane debt. You did okay.
No, I haven't had any of those situations with, I mean, I just thought of a third, but I'm not going to go there. Or maybe I should.
You
No,
know
I
I'm
thought
gonna
of,
ask
no,
you to
this one
go
was
there
really
now, though.
stupid. This was really bad. Okay, so also while I was in college, there was these day traders, two of them that were at my university, and they would they'd sit in this place called the Fishbowl, and they had all these screens, and it was like glass all around, and they were like analyzing charts and basically looked like a little hedge fund. And they're like, oh
Okay.
yeah, we can make X% per month in investment returns. And I did take out about $10,000 in credit card debt
Ooh.
at X and gave it to them to trade. Like, well, they're going to make 1 to 2% a month, and I'm paying, or sorry, no, more than that. It was actually more like, I think it was more like 4 or 5% a month, and I'm paying this much lower rate. And essentially, lo and behold, 6 months later, they came and said, we've lost all the money.
Yep.
And
Okay.
it was one of those, yeah, I got greedy and I wanted to get this great return and make this arbitrage. And it absolutely didn't work out that way. They lost and it was not just me, it was like me and like 5 other people that had given them capital.
Ouch.
And we all lost, and we're in school, we're
Yeah,
paying our tuition,
10K is a
working full
lot of
time. It was
money
huge. It was
for
my
anybody,
life's
especially a
savings.
college student. Yeah.
Life savings. So that may be even more embarrassing story, because
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
just,
No, that
yeah.
that one has a bit more, a few more teeth in it. All
So I'm an
right.
open book. So you just got 3
Okay.
out of me.
All right. There we go. All right. Ali, tell me a little bit about what you're working on now. What's coming up next for you?
Yeah. So basically, the big goal right now is taking the IP and experiences and things that I've learned working with entrepreneurs this last 2 decades, and creating an educational platform and framework for business owners to get guidance independent of any type of financial solution or financial service, I should say.
Mhm.
No products, money, but like helping give them the guidance and advice. So the book introduces this wealth integration system for entrepreneurs. And I
Mhm.
essentially have 2 businesses. The first business is a company I've owned for 13, 14 years now, Ultra Vista, which is a boutique advisory firm for successful business owners. So we kind of are the who for a business owner that wants to know, how do I plan my life's work? And then the education and content company, which is called Wise Global. And Wise Global is a workshop program, an educational program where business owners can say, hey, I'm going to go to a workshop. I'm going to learn and understand and get education and coaching around all these different topics, and help reframe a lot of the wealth that I've built and my path forward, and do that in an education environment that's independent of any type of financial service. So those are the two pathways. And then I want to continue to, create good content and write good books and help spread the message and just be the business owner's advocate.
I love it. We've talked a lot about purpose. So tell me, what is the impact you want to make on the world, or the legacy you want to leave?
The legacy that I want to leave in the world. So these are my 3 most important outcomes in my. I literally have this tape next to my desk.
love
It's
it.
like, what are the 3 things that matter to me in the world? So the first is that I make a positive and meaningful impact in the world. The second is to experience love and joy with relationships that truly matter to me and where I can be me, both giving and receiving. And third is I feel connected emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, and I'm present at every moment, enjoying the journey.
I love it.
So those are probably not exactly what you're looking for there, but those are the 3, and the way it manifests, which I think was what you're really asking, how does that manifest, is I want to help people find their best path forward. And the people that where I have the unique expertise and the unique empathy is with business owners. I want to help every single business owner I come in contact with find their best path forward and feel empowered towards taking that journey.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of conversations you and I need to have because we share very similar goals in mind. All right, my last question for you, Ali,
Yeah.
is what is your greatest insight or discovery about life and entrepreneurship?
That's a great question. It's all in our mind.
Oh,
So
that's so good.
there's a quote, and I can't remember it right now, but maybe I'll send it to you, after the podcast if I can find it. But it's essentially saying that if our minds are the lens through which we experience the world. So if we can control our minds, we can essentially control the world. Because it's our reality.
Yeah.
And what I've known is you can have all the money in the world, you can have freedom of time, freedom of relationships, freedom of your intention, direction. If you don't have freedom from your mind, you are going to limit your experience. And in many cases, you can have every cup otherwise filled, but if you don't have freedom from your mind, you might be suffering. And on the flip side, if you can treat your mind like a muscle, or the best example I had was from Eckhart Tolle. And he said that, like, I don't know if you read the book, The Power of Now, but if you haven't.
I haven't yet, but it's on my list.
Well, I'll give you the skinny is that the majority of us will spend our lives either in regret or remorse of the past, or in anticipation and anxiety of the future. And we miss out on the most important part, which is the present, the right now.
Yeah.
And if you think of your mind as like an instrument, let's just say this is my mind and it's a violin, right? I pick up the violin, I play it, and then when I'm done playing the violin, I put it down, and I'm present. I'm not using it. And as entrepreneurs, so myself absolutely included, we tend to live the entire time using our mind. Middle of the night, we're analyzing. All day, we're analyzing. We're sitting. I'm on a podcast with Kylie, and I'm thinking about, I've got this thing coming up. You're not always present. Yeah. And the greatest joy in life comes from being present and experiencing your mind and using it, being a master of your mind versus a slave to your mind. And the greatest lesson I've learned so far in life is that if you can control your mind, or at least have some tools and mechanisms to manage it better, your experience for life will change drastically.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Okay, wise words, all puns intended, by Ali Nasser. Thank you so much for joining us and imparting all of your beautiful wisdom on us today. Ali, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
The easiest thing is I'm happy, just drop me a note, ali@alinasser.com, ali@alinasser.com. Check out the book, Business Owner's Dilemma. And if you've got anything or any thoughts come to mind, just alinasser.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for anybody listening. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please go ahead and leave us a review wherever you're listening. And Ali, this is definitely not the end. We've got so much more to talk about. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Kylie, you're most welcome. It's such a pleasure, and I'm excited to stay in touch and connect further.
To continue learning how to better build your business and make your vision a reality, subscribe to the Welcome to Eloma email list at welcometoeloma.com.